Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the first session of our Dev Heroes program. My name is Kendra and I am a technology evangelist at Microsoft Nigeria. This program is designed to walk you through the process of creating, developing an app on Windows Phone and Windows Store using HTML5 and JavaScript. Today is just the first session, so we'll just have a brief overview of what we're going to do, what we hope to achieve, and how we plan to get there. Great. Alright, the objective of this program is simple. We would be walking through how to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as a programming language for apps, not just web design. We would learn to create native Windows apps using JavaScript, and we would at the end of the day publish those apps on both the Windows Phone and Windows 8 stores. Great, so let's get started. Now the tools you'll need for this program, basically you need just one tool. You need Visual Studio 2013 because it's the best practice IDE for building Windows apps. It makes the process a lot more seamless from scratch to submission. Now, another thing you would need is not exactly a tool, it's just a requirement for building Windows 8 apps is you need for your system to be running Windows 8 or 8.1 OS. Great, okay. So now the content we're going to cover over this period is this lesson is going to span a period of 6 weeks. The first 2 weeks the first two classes are going to be about building apps using HTML and JavaScript. Now, what this means is that we're just talking about apps as a general concept, right? So, a lot of people are more used to HTML and JavaScript as web building languages. So, we're going to focus the first two classes on bringing you into building apps using these languages, and then after we're conversant with those with that concept, we're going to move on to bringing those apps to Windows. So, what it takes to make an Apple Windows app, how the UI of a Windows app looks, the logic and the design basically that is specific to Windows apps. And then finally, we're going to troubleshoot our apps. We're going to have a community call where I get to run a tech clinic of sorts for the apps you've been working on, and then we're going to put our apps in the store. Now, what this means in essence is that this program is very hands-on. It's going to require that you build apps. That's the only way success can be measured. So I implore you to be very involved, and please stop and ask me questions at any point in time. Great. All right. First off, before you can go into this class, you are going to need an endpoint for yourself. So you need an idea, an app idea. What is it you're trying to create? What are you working towards? Now, when you get that idea, it's not enough to just have it in your head. You're going to need to put it on paper. It's easier to work towards something that is tangible. So I would suggest you storyboard your idea. Now, this is what a storyboard, a basic storyboard, well, not exactly basic, but yeah, this is what a storyboard looks like. A storyboard basically is just like a wireframe for your app. It's you putting on paper what you want it to look like, what you want it to do. Anybody should be able to look at your storyboard and say, yeah, this is what this app does. It helps you put your logic in the right places, and when you're creating your UI and your design, it becomes a lot less of a guesswork. So for me, the storyboard is my app. It's my Windows Phone app called Wish Vault. Basically, what this app is just it's a savings app that has targets, it has statistics of what you saved so far, it has your wish list, what you're saving towards, and all of that good stuff. Creating a storyboard is pretty easy if you have Visual Studio 2013 installed on your laptop, then creating a storyboard becomes easy because all you need, okay, let me just show you how that works using PowerPoint. All you need is PowerPoint and Visual Studio 2013 installed, and you should be good. Here you can see the tab called Storyboarding. If you click that, then you click Storyboard Shapes. It's not responding. give it a second. We'll get there. Great. Right. If you look at this sidebar here, you see there are a number of very useful shapes that contain pretty much everything that your app could need. So if I wanted to show someone what my app would look like from the start screen, I could just pull that here. You can see this is a basic Windows 8, this the model for basic Windows 8 start screen, right? And then pull that across. I could put an image here to show what my tile is going to look like. If I don't want to do that, if my app is going to use a browser, for instance, I could come down here, pick where is it? There you are. Pick the web browser. If you're familiar with the Metro app version of the Internet Explorer, then this should look familiar to you. And you could use the regular old web browser. And basically, this is a very handy tool for storyboarding. It helps you, bring your app to life on paper, and you can do just fun stuff with it. In essence, it's a SharePoint app and all of that. So yeah, my app is a Windows app, Windows Phone app. So as you can see, this already the frame. Then you can add your mouse, you can add checkboxes. It's great stuff, really. Anyway, so yeah, experiment with Storyboard, put your idea on paper, and if you have trouble with it, just let me know, and we'll work on it together. Great. So yeah, that being said, let's get back to business. Uh, Today we're just going to briefly look at how HTML5, not just HTML, HTML5 plays into app development. Now, everybody knows how great HTML is for web design. It's practically the only thing web browsers can read. But when it comes to app development, some of you may be wondering how and why HTML5. Now, the truth is, previous versions of HTML were not so great for app development. There were too many restrictions, too many error handling problems, and okay, I'm sorry about that. Let's just get rid of this, and we're back. Great. So yeah. Let me do a quick example. If you're familiar with HTML5, then this should look familiar to you. This is the basic web structure of a web page built on HTML. You have your header, you have your navbar, you have the article, you have your sidebar, and your footer. Now, this to me looks messy. There's too many repetitions, the divs and the IDs and the classes. It's just really a bother. But using HTML5, you could write this exact same thing in a lot less time using the newly implemented elements and semantic structure. So there's a lot of fun stuff that has been added. So you could at your own time go look at them. But basically, yeah, you have the article, you have a side, figure, footer, audio, video, and all of that. And what it does is that it makes it easier to embed stuff like media and math formulas and things that would be useful, things like animation, things that would be useful in an app, right, are now easily implemented into HTML5, which just makes it that much easier to make it into an app development language, right? So let's pause here. Let me show you what HTML5 would look like in an app, right? So what I'm going to show you here, you would notice that we're not going to run this in a browser. We're not going to need any web for this. We're going to run HTML5 like we would run an app using C#. Now, great. This is Visual Studio 2013, by the way. It's a great IDE. You should get it. Now, if you get new projects, part of the reasons I love this IDE is that it comes with pre-installed templates depending on what language you're using and what you want to use it for. So in this case, we're interested in JavaScript for Windows Store. So I'm just going to pick a blank app here. All these templates are very handy. If I were actually going to build an app for Windows right now, I wouldn't be using a blank app. I'd probably use a grid app because, as you can see, it already comes pre-installed with a format that is very particular to Windows Metro apps. But for now, we're just testing the beauty of HTML5, so blank app would work. Let's call this blank app, but since I already have an app called blank app, I'm just going to call this blank app 1 and say okay, and let that open. And we're opening, and it's great. And my system is hanging. Great, and we're open. If you, this all of this is JavaScript, but since I haven't said anything about JavaScript yet, I'm going to close this window and open this default HTML here. Right now, great, awesome, beautiful. If you look at this, if you're familiar with how HTML works, if you look at this, it looks like a basic web page, right? You have your HTML body, you have the doc typing code, you have your head that's referencing different CSS and JavaScripts, and you have your body with just the one line there, and run this on a web browser and you have yourself a web page. But like I said, we're not going to be running this in a web browser. This is annoying, so I'm just going to say yeah, on a web browser, and without doing anything, without adding or removing anything, just plain straight up HTML. I'm going to run this on my local machine so you can see that it runs like any other app would. Give it a second to build there, and anytime now. Great. And see, this is an app. This is not a web page. This is a plain app with our content, right? So this just goes to show you that by default, Visual Studio knows that you're building an app with HTML5, and it just makes it that much easier to work with. So you can see that this is that, and all that good stuff, right? Let's just stop this now. Now let's make this look a lot more interesting. Let's say, let's remove this guy. Let's add a section instead with style of, let's say, margin. This is one of the most awesome things about Visual Studio, is the Intellisense that just preempts what it is you're trying to do. Let's say 200. What it is you're trying to do, and just goes on and makes your life easier by giving you options. So if you're new to programming and you're not sure what should be or what the right term is at any point in time, Intellisense would be your guide. So yeah, margin top we have, let's say 50 pixels. Great. Yeah. And then in that, let's put a header group. And in that header group, let's put a bunch of headers, shall we? H1 is hello. And of course, as you may have guessed, H2 would be world. Perfect. Now let's run this. Now what I want to show you is that just writing HTML without imputing any CSS, I've been able to style this of sorts. I've moved it from the edge, I've made different. Basically, HTML5 comes with HTML5 tags have imbued CSS to them. So it just generally makes life easier, and we're going to see more of that in a second. Now, let's take this one step further. Another part of the, if you recall, things that make HTML so awesome, sorry about this, is the ability to impute forms, audio, video, canvases, SVG straight into your app. So now I'm just going to add a form. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a form. I'm going to make that form play a certain sound when it's submitted, and I'm going to add in the video, all in the space of 10 minutes. time me. All right, so let's say form. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot I was in my header group. There we go. Come under our header group and we see form. Right? And in that form we have, let's call this form adding a form. And then in that form we would impute a date time, no, just date. We're going to call it date, and then we would impute, sorry, let's see, type, say URL, let's call this your URL. Let's say it is enter website, right? And then finally we're going to impute a name, call it your name, and we're going to make it a required. You know, on second thought, let me use this to show you how you can more than just embed forms into your app, you can also validate them, right? So instead of writing some long JavaScript code to validate that this person has indeed entered a URL, you could just, let me make this required. So, yeah, let's take this out, we don't need this. And, okay, and then let's make this a placeholder instead. Placeholders work like that watermark thing you see in forms. Oh, we'll see in a minute. Name. And there we go. If we run this, we should see this guy. Now you have your name, you have your website. You can see the website's a little grayed out because it's required. Oh, I forgot something silly me. I forgot something really important about this form. Stop there. And let us enter a submit button, or what's the point of a form, right? And give it a value of submit, and yeah, that should work now. Submit, and let's say great. Now what we're going to do to test validation is we're going to enter something that's not a website, and let's say we enter Kendra Nachi and blah 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 blah. And you submit this, and you see you must enter a valid URL. Now what happens if I just ignore that whole place and just want to submit? So this is a required field. So you see you have all of this out of the box without writing one line of code concerning that. And now if we enter a valid URL and a valid name and we submit, and it's happy. Now of course there's nowhere it's saving to, but you get the point. Great. Alright, so that's how you impute forms into your app with no stress. Now what we're going to add, for the fun of it, is I'm going to show you how to add items into your project. So first off, let's add two folders. Now, if you right click on the project name and you say add, you could add new folder, I will come to this new and existing item in a bit, but first let's add two new folders. We'll call this audio, and we will call this add. We'll call this video. Great. Now, there are two ways to add items into your app. One way is to add a new item. New items work if you want to add a new class, if you want to add a new behavior, a new page, all of this fun stuff, a new style sheet, text file, right? But if you want to add something like what we want to add now, which is like an audio, you come and you add an existing item, which takes you to a browse dialog. Now we're gonna go up here, and I think I should have an audio here somewhere. Let's see, assets, great. And cut that wave is an audio, and let's add that, and it automatically adds it into that folder. Now a quicker way of adding stuff into your folder would be what I would do usually, which would be coming to your project. Remember project? Oh great. Come into your project and just basically just dragging and dropping what you need. So I'm going to take this video, I'm going to take it to my Visual Studio, I'm going to drop it in the folder I want, and voila, video. Great. Now we've added two assets into our project, which is all well and good, but how about we add them into the app itself? Alright, so let's see. You see audio source. So this is where all those new elements in HTML5 come in handy. You can just do this audio source and cut that wave, and it's a happy fella. Now, let's see, to actually test this, let's give this an ID that can be called, and we're going to call it, sorry about that, we're going to call it, what the hell, call it cat. So if I come here and I say on submit, no, on submit, thank you. Alright, when we click what this is that when we click the submit button, we want it to play this wave file. So we're going to say cat.play. Great. Now this method is called by default because we have defined this as an audio file. So Visual Studio recognizes that this can be played in essence. Now, with the way the app runs right now, this wouldn't work, because when you click submit, basically the app resets itself since there's nowhere for it to submit to. So we don't want it to do that. So you're going to place return at false. Great, awesome. Now let us run this. Run in. And we do this normal blah blah www.bing.com and com, and for name we put Fumi Adewale, and let's submit that. Oh great, I don't know if you heard that, but when we click submit there's a very loud irritating cat meowing. But since I'm using headphones, chances are you didn't hear that. So let's do something more visual, something you can see. Now, great. You saw all we went through to impute the audio into our app. Let me show you a quicker, more straight to the point way of doing this. If you look here, you can see from this icon that the Visual Studio recognizes that this is a video. So if you just drag this and drop it here, and voila, we have a video embedded in our app. And just run that the way it is, and you can see our beautiful video here by Susan.
You ever gone to a
great. So yeah, have fun with this. Try it out. You can embed your media. You can stream. You can pull media straight from YouTube, which we'll discuss in a different lesson. But yeah, this is how easy it is to embed your media into your Windows app using just HTML. Remember, we haven't even touched JavaScript. This is pure, undiluted HTML, right? that being said, um, it's also just as easy to, yeah, this is the long story that usually used to go into embedding videos and apps into web browsers. But with apps, it's just easier, really, it is. This same thing goes with um, adding scalable vectors. Same thing goes with adding canvases. Now, to really discuss canvases, I'll have to go into JavaScript. So I'm just going to breeze over this right now. What a canvas and a scalable vector, an SVG in essence, what they do for you is that they make it possible to draw on your app, for instance. So, I mean, one of my favorite apps, by the way, is CodeShow. If you run Windows 8, you should get it. It has templates of little fun bits and bobs you can add into your app. So, for instance, to prove my canvas points, if you play canvas ball here, you can see this ball bouncing up and down. Basically, this is just canvases in motion. This is repetitive, using canvas to repeatedly, God in heaven, repeatedly draw in your app. And if you look at the code involved in that, sorry, we see the code involved in that, you can see that it's just a lot of canvases and canvases and canvases drawing over and over again in the app. Uh, a Using SVG would actually be straight to the point and a lot less Java-y than using canvases. But the advantage canvases have over SVGs is that canvases are light, but SVGs, because the app is doing the math itself of moving the object, it makes it heavier. So if you're going to build something that requires a lot of animation, a lot of movement in your app, like a game, for instance, or Talking Tom, for instance, you might want to use canvases over vectors. Use SVGs if you want, if it's like a one-time small, minute animation, so that one thing you don't want is for your app to be heavy and laggy. You want to create a seamless user experience in essence. So, yeah, basically this is just an overview of the part that HTML gets to play in this app building. And next class we're going to review these, and I'm going to talk about a little more fun stuff like adding CSS and stuff. And then we're going to go into my favorite part, which would be JavaScript. And then we're going to have some serious fun. Alright, join the community. All my posts, all my videos would be linked to via Facebook. So join the group. That's where all the cool kids are. Join us on Twitter, follow my blog. Basically, stay in touch. We're building a community of young and educated developers. So, join in, and I will see you next week.